So, Steph, welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here as well. Let's talk about how to get to where you want to be. I know it's tough. I'm been there. I'm there, but I'm creating my dream life. Let's say it like that. How are you?
I love that. Love to hear that. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I want to know, I want other people to know because I know a little bit before, but I want other people to know who is Estefanía Moly? What have you been doing? What have you been up to these last years? And what is Nut Milk?
Okay, so where can I start? So I've been living in the US for the past 12 years, but since I think 2022, I moved back to my country, which is Venezuela. A lot of people told me that I was crazy, that I'm crazy because, going back to a country where, there are a lot of conflicts economically. But something that they don't see that I saw and I still see living here is that because we're kind of behind in time. I don't want to say it in the negative way, but in the positive way. That's how I see it. So much market where you can actually come and create things that, yeah, maybe in the US it's already created and you can get those ideas and bring it to, in this case, to Venezuela. In my case, I don't eat meat. I don't drink milk. I'm kind of vegetarian, pescatarian kind of person. So in 2022, I came to Venezuela for a wedding and I just wanted to go for a coffee with either oat milk or almond milk, but that didn't actually exist. Or if it did exist, it was super expensive. So I was like, how? Why? Like, I don't get it, right? Because you're used to that, at least in the US. So I went back to Miami and I talked to my stepdad, which is, he is a engineer in food kind of thing, un ingeniero en alimento. So he helped me create this product, which is basically an almond base where you can either prepare almond milk, you can use it for chocolate, you can use it for baking, like you can use it for so many things. And that's the beauty of the product. Because, by the way, I have it right here so you can see it. So you can get,
I love the packaging.
thank you very much. So it's not the typical, right? Like the typical white and what you see, it actually gets to your mind. Like, what is this? So maybe you don't see well because of the camera, but you can get 5 liters of almond milk from here. And yeah, that's something that it doesn't exist here in Venezuela, at least. So you would say like, okay, that's not a big deal, but actually it helps a lot to the businesses here because of, everything that is going on with the economy and the economic problems that, Venezuela is dealing right now with. So
I love to hear that. And I think hearing you talk, and like obviously we've known each other for years. So it's interesting because you've always been like driven and just in general mission driven. I love that about you. And I also love that you just decided to go against the grain or against what was like normal. I mean, at the time I remember when you moved back, yeah, that was definitely not what most people would have either recommended or seen as like normal or the thing to do. But I think it's very cool to see someone else kind of go against what everybody thinks is what you're supposed to do, and you're still going at it and you're doing great. And I just love to hear a little bit more about what it's like being an entrepreneur in a country where things are so uncertain, right? Like here in the States or wherever, you have a lot of commodities or a lot of accessibility when it comes to starting a company. It's still hard, but you have a lot more accessibility. And I think in Venezuela, it's a lot more complicated, but you've kind of found a way to make it happen. And I love how you mention it more of like an opportunity where other people see something like negative.
mhm.
So can you explain a little bit more about that? Because I think it's interesting. A lot of people always say, oh no, I come from this country. I'm not from the States. I can't do this. So they can always make up excuses as to why they would not do something. But I want to hear with you, like, what made you push to actually start doing what you're doing and move and everything?
So it wasn't an easy thing to decide, honestly, because we're used to being in the comfort zone. So I already tried working, in a 9 to 5 job, which I respect to everyone that do it, but I just simply didn't work for me. So I went through that phase where I tried that. I tried creating other businesses in the US as well. And I don't know, I just felt I don't know how to explain it, but I felt that I wanted more, to create more, to actually help. And then I went through that moment where I had like anxiety and kind of depression as well. So I didn't know what to do with my life. I think that everyone has gone through that, maybe that phase, the mid-20s, anxiety thing. So yeah, I was like, you know what? If I want to create something for myself that I'm happy with, I need to get out of the comfort zone. Yeah, that trip that I told you about the wedding that was happening here in 2022, I think that was like a sign from the universe, God, that said, like, you know what? You have this, you can do something about this. So when I went back to Miami, I was like, I don't have anything to lose. I mean, I sacrificed a lot, honestly. Being my comfort zone, my family, my friends, a lot of things that were extremely important for me. I had to, just leave it there and create this new life of, you know what, let me just try. If it doesn't work, what's the worst thing that can happen? I just go back to my house, my mom, my family. And I'm not going to lie, it's been tough. But what you said, that Venezuela, it's a country where it's complicated because of many things. It's been nurturing as well for me, because there are so many things that I don't know. Even though it's my country, I don't know how to manage some things because I'm not used to that. I'm actually really, let's say, American in a certain way when doing business or something. But when you get here, it's completely different. So you're like, oh my God, how can I deal with this? So yeah, it's tough. Currently it's really tough because of the currency. Thank you. Yeah. It's been actually liberating as well for me, even though I have those obstacles, because I have something that I didn't have back then, which was time, which was growth personally, professionally. I have so many other things that, as I said, I sacrificed this for this, but it's recomforting. That's the thing.
Right. Can you talk a little bit more about what you meant by that? It's tough when it comes to the currency situation. Can you kind of explain a little bit what you mean so people understand?
So the thing in Venezuela is that we have the bolívares, right? But every day we have this inflation thing that the currency just, if today, I don't know, 30 bolívares was $1, tomorrow it's going to be 35 bolívares for $1. So why businesses and even people here struggle with that? Because me as a business, if this is the cost of this, when I sell it, it's $20. Let's say that in bolívares, I don't know, whatever number, it's 500 bolívares today. Tomorrow, I'm not getting $20. I'm getting 15, 13, because at the time where I have to exchange that for dollars, I will receive like really like a small amount of what I was supposed to receive. I don't know if I'm explaining
Right.
it.
Yeah. And I'll give context for people. That's like 20%. What you mentioned from 30 to 35, that's like if you lose out on like 15%, 20% of what you would have gotten the day before.
Yeah.
For the month before.
So that's the struggle, because every day, literally, I'm not exaggerating, every day we need to try and exchange that. And even though we do that, they don't exchange that for the legal currency
Exchange
amount.
rate.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So they go to the black market where you have to exchange that, so you receive less. So again, if I was supposed to receive $20, I'm actually getting 13, 14. It depends on how much, you get to exchange that. So that's the struggle, actually.
Yeah, I'll add a little context for people. Essentially, in Venezuela, there's what's called currency controls. And what that means that you can't just go on the open market and exchange for, I don't know, $1 for 30 bolívares from the bank. That's something that the government controls. And if you want to actually get access to dollars or to exchange out of the bolivar, you have to go through what's called the black market, but it's essentially what everybody uses. It's just person to person or a third party, someone, and then you exchange. But obviously, you're not going to get like the actual like government rate. You're going to get a different rate, which is like the real free market rate. I'm just giving a context for those who might not really know what's going on in Venezuela. But thank you for explaining that. And just that in itself is such a big limitation or obstacle to just, if under a normal circumstance, like in the US, where you have kind of everything going for you. They make it very easy for you to start something. Even then, it's really hard to succeed. Putting yourself out there in a situation in a country that has so many obstacles for you to actually succeed as well. Obviously, there's opportunities, but there's obstacles. How do you find it? How has that journey been for you? I know you said it's tough and that you've had ups and downs, but how has that journey been for you? And what would be an advice that you'd give someone else that would be in the situation that you were in when you wanted to start this that you're doing right now, this startup?
Yeah. So as I said, it's tough. It's complicated because I come from, in this case, living in a country where everything works. If it's $20, it's $20. That's it. It's been, it's complicated in that sense because we are so used to have maybe other problems, but not this kind of problems, where you get super stressed, where you have to be, I don't know, talking to a client, hey, you owe me this, hey, you owe me this. But when they pay you to a different rate, like to the legal rate at the end of the day. So that's kind of a headache, to be honest, for me. But again, it's recomforting to have this, that it's mine. It's mine. I have my time. If I want to go back to the US, whenever on a Monday or on a Tuesday, I can do that because I have time. I can still work, obviously, from my computer and my phone, but I have that flexibility that maybe before I didn't. That's one thing. And what I would advise someone that wants to start a business independently where they live, if it's in the US or even wherever. First of all, you have to do it because you're driven by that. It's not only because of money, because money, yes, can go and come. But at the end of the day, if you don't love what you do, you're just going to get tired and, you're going to quit and that's it. And that's not the idea. So find something that maybe in your country doesn't exist. I'm not saying that you have to go back, right? But if you think about it, from my experience, create something that it's missing there. And if you're in a country where something or everything already exists, just try to create something. If it's out there, try to put your essence there, because that's something that makes us different independently what you're creating. I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but if you're creating this
Completely
bottle, you're not selling the bottle. You have to sell the experience and why this bottle is changing your life, So that's what it's going to make you completely different. And just keep trying. I'm not saying it's easy. And I always say to myself that if it was and if it's easy, everyone would do it. And that's not, the thing here.
Of course. No, that's a great point. And I always find that even with what we're doing with Wink and just in general is mission driven, and it's something that you really care about, and actually trying to make money from it or make it like a successful business. It's like a hard thing to balance. And sometimes it's easy to just go for a quick money grab or trying to, make money in different ways. How do you find the way to stick to your mission? And how are you tying in your mission or your values in your company? And how do you stay strong to that in moments where maybe you can just find other ways to make money and, kind of sell out in a way?
I think it's the fact that, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm kind of pescatarian, vegetarian kind of person. And again, at least in Venezuela, you see that a lot of people, they are going through that phase as well, where they're changing maybe, the way they eat and everything. And you don't see a lot of options here. So what I'm doing, yes, I'm doing it obviously for myself, for me, for the people like me, because I went through that when I came here. So that's something that I always stick to it. Like, it's like, okay, you're not doing this for this matter. You're doing this because you want to help people to have a better life, healthier life, which for me, it's super important. Like, I'm super into, battling climate change. And believe me or not, this helps quite a lot because of the waste that you may see. Like, instead of having 5 bottles of milk, you have this. That's one thing. You also teach people how to, be healthier and how that impacts not only their body, but also the environment. So I always said that to myself whenever, I think about creating some other things, just for money, which honestly, that hasn't come to my mind. I just want to create this maybe in other countries, but that's it. Like, I don't see maybe right now, I don't see another way maybe, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. What can
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And in general, when it comes to starting anything, I feel like you figure out your path along the way, and it seems like you're kind of doing that on the spot. Starting a company in a country that's maybe not as developed as well socially or progressively as anywhere else. Like, how's that experience been? Like, what are your thoughts? What would you tell other women, like in general? Just talk to me about that because I'm curious how your experience has been.
Okay, Salo. So just, I swear to God, I was just thinking about that. I was like, okay, I need to tell him this because it's super important. So right now in Venezuela, it's not common, honestly, to see a woman creating a business. It's men. So I remember that at the beginning, I started like this with my product. Hey, knock, knock, knock. Hey, do you want to try this, blah, blah, blah. Some people say, hey, perfect, let me try. And some other like, oh, how cute is your little thing, your entrepreneur. You're so cute. And I'm like, I'm not cute. This is a business. Like, treat me as a grown woman with a business. Like, don't treat me like, oh, how cute you are. You're trying. It's like, yes, I'm trying, but don't look at me like that. So I've received a lot of that as well, but thank God I've received mostly, open arms, ears, open people that are, they just they want to do business. And that's the thing. They don't really see if you're a woman or not. But again, I feel that we're, as I said before, kind of behind in time where, men are the one that work and women were like, okay, we don't do,
Yeah, I get you. No, I get you completely.
And also, I don't know, and this is only my opinion. It doesn't have to be the reality of it, but I've had meetings with other women that they have businesses here in Venezuela. But for some reason, I feel that they're kind of, at least these people that I met, they're kind of like, oh yes, this is my entrepreneur, my entrepreneur business. This is cute. I don't have, and it's like, no, treat it as a business. Don't put yourself in a lower in standard. How would you say? No te pongas por debajo de los demás, nada más porque eres.
Yeah, lower status, yeah.
Sí, es como, you're doing amazing. Don't do that to yourself, So I'm like that kind of person.
Yeah.
And I feel that I have a lot of masculine energy because of that. That's what people say. And it's like, no, I'm putting my feminine energy, mi energía femenina, to the highest.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned, I actually had a talk with Samantha Sagi. She's really good at the whole masculine versus feminine energy, especially when it comes to money. And one of the things that she's really interested in that piqued my interest was how obviously times have changed in general, like since our grandparents, our parents, and not only the times and other things, just even socially, we've changed a lot in the roles of men, women, and just in general, the household, and how now we have time for more things. And now women are more empowered to build their own businesses. And just because they're building their own businesses doesn't mean it's cute. Maybe it's for real. They're actually being a part of the workforce and a part of companies and entrepreneurs. And it's just interesting, the dynamic, how it's changing and how we see a very, very precise difference between maybe people who are kind of outdated in like what like the traditional norm should be, and maybe this new generation that's trying to change how things are, because times are changing, technology changes, and it changes how we interact as humans, and just everything changes, right? So I'm interested in knowing too, how do you perceive the difference between, for example, what your parents grew up with or how our parents' generation see this whole concept of like women and entrepreneurship, or just in general, how they see how times have changed between what our parents lived and what we lived? What do you perceive is a big difference there?
So talking about my parents specifically, my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, but she was working from home. And she always taught me, like, you have to have your own thing. So you don't depend on another person, you don't depend on only, because you're married or married or whatever. So you have to have your own thing, whatever it is, you have to have it. So I think I picked that from her, but I'm not going to lie. I see a lot of people here, women, that talk to me like, oh, like, I don't know. Oh, you're 28, almost 29, by the way, this Friday. You're 28 and you're not married. How? Why? Like, they're waiting for us women to get married at 20, whatever. So we get, money from whoever we are with. And I see that a lot here, a lot. and they don't see a way for, like, why would they tell me that instead of telling me like, you're 28, you don't have your business? Why? They don't tell you that. But if I'm a man, they're gonna tell you that. Oh, you're a man, like, why aren't you living by yourself? Why don't you have, and I see that a lot, at least in Venezuela, a lot. So I see the difference even in countries in the US.
Yeah.
That you see more women, being entrepreneurs and creating their own thing. I'm not saying that in Venezuela they don't, they do, but because of what you said, people here that they're kind of behind, they just see like the cute thing. And we're trying really hard not, to make that difference. So they don't see us like that, at least me.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think that's commendable. I think that's obviously, that's part of the whole ethos of what we're trying to push forward right now, even with this conversation, is we want to build that future that we want to see, right? We're part of the reason why we're even talking right now is you're Estefanía Moly, you're paving a path, you're building the future you want to see, and you're trying to be a part of something bigger. You're trying to make, a ripple effect into making this world a better place for whatever that means for you. And I think with, when it comes to like older generations, something I've talked about with other people as well, it's like, it's completely normal because that's what they considered normal, right? Like for our parents, getting married in their early 20s was just like, that's what you do. You go to school, if anything, if that's even available to you. You have to find, for women, it was you have to find a husband and get married and start having kids. Like my mom had me when she was like 24. I'm 27. I haven't had kids yet, so it's different. And then when you think about also like how just so much has changed, my sister says that the 30s are the new 20s, or I don't know whoever says that, but I know my sister says it. It's so true, right? Like our generation just kind of values different things. And I don't think it's not that we don't value getting married and having kids. I just think, especially women who've kind of been more oppressed previously, they kind of value other things and they're taking time to, explore themselves and what they like. So they don't have to turn 50 and have to get divorced twice and then like kind of have a midlife crisis and figure out things that maybe they could have figured out earlier. So I really like how things are turning. Obviously, ideally in Venezuela, hopefully maybe, accelerating a little more. What living the experiences you've lived, what do you consider as like financial freedom for you? Like, what does financial freedom mean for you as you in your situation now? What is financial freedom?
With one word, I would say time. And also, I don't know if you've received this, but at least me, I've heard a lot of like, why don't you settle down? Like, stay in one place. Stay either in Venezuela, stay either here. You have to start creating, your life. And it's like, no, I'm doing and creating things wherever I want because I'm 28 and you're 27. Doesn't mean that you have to stay either in Miami. Like if you want to move to Madrid, for example, you can do it because that's what makes you happy. And that goes for me as well, that right now I'm in Venezuela. I'm not saying that I'm staying in Venezuela for whatever time. I don't know where I'm going to be in 1 year, honestly. But yeah, I mean, again, going back to time, being financially or having that financial freedom, for me, it's time, it's power of decision. You don't have to wait for a boss or whatever, someone that tells you like, you cannot do that. It's like, I want to do it. I'm going to do it because I can. I have the time. And I'm just going to make it happen. And that's it.
Yeah, it's a great point you're mentioning about time because time is like the most limited resource ever, right? Like you don't even know if we have time tomorrow. Like it's just, you have it in the moment and it's perishable and you have to just make the most out of it. Right? Yeah, I think that's really good. And I don't know if you believe the same thing or if you see our generation the same way, but I think that's something that we're deciding to value a little bit more now. And maybe before people did as well, but now we have, maybe not everyone, but I think we're kind of a more conscious generation that's saying, okay, look, how do I want to spend my time? And how do I want to not fall into these social norms or social structures of how things should be? And like, what do I actually value and what do I actually want? And it's interesting because I focus a lot about money, right? So I focus on money, and money is something that people think is so separate to, time or other things, but in reality, money is just the way you store your time, right? You put your effort into starting Nut Milk and doing all these things, and whatever money you get out of it, that's that time and that effort that you put into something stored into something that, hopefully will get you what you want over time, right? That freedom that you want, that travel, all that. So it's interesting. And that's why I'm so passionate about Bitcoin. And that's why, because I want to store my time in something that holds its value over time. And that's why in a lot of countries like Venezuela or, a lot of developing countries, it's even worse than in the States or anywhere because what they're doing is devaluing your time while they devalue your money. So it's a very serious thing. And speaking about time as well, I kind of want to get a take on how do you spend your time? What are your routines as an entrepreneur who has to get things done? This is probably one of our biggest dilemmas as entrepreneurs. How do we organize our time? How do you do it? And what tips can you give other people?
Okay, so listen, I do have my agenda with me actually, because I have to write everything there about, everything that I have to do. But sometimes being an entrepreneur, you're not going to have that 9 to 5 schedule. You're going to work till 1 a.m., maybe till 2, till like, you don't know, even on weekends. So you have to be prepared for that. It's not going to be like the cute picture, like, no. But now that my business is more, balanced, settled, I would say that thankfully I'm starting to working out more, because back in the time, like this past year in 2024, I didn't have much time for that, or maybe that was an excuse for me. But yeah, working out, I think it's super extremely important, so you can have that time for yourself where you don't think about your business, the problems. No, you're thinking about yourself. Also, I love reading. So that's a really important part of my life. I read every day, at least 30 minutes, because I enjoy it. If you like, I don't know, cooking, do that for if you ask me, for example, today, what I did or what I'm doing, because here it's 12:42 p.m. in Venezuela. I woke up, I went to the gym, and then I haven't eaten because I'm in that ayuno intermitente. So
Intermittent fasting?
Yeah. So after finishing this with you guys, I'm gonna eat, and then I'm going to just work till 6, 5. Honestly, again, I don't have a schedule. And then I'm just gonna take a shower because I need to. And then just cook, read, and it's not like, it doesn't have to be like big things. You don't have to be the perfect girl or guy, whatever, because a lot of people say like, oh, entrepreneurs or people to be, para que sean productivas, if you want to be productive, you have to do this, you have to put your mask at night so you don't have wrinkles. So no, you have to live your body and yourself. Don't follow that guide that everyone says that you have to do. Just do what makes you.
Yeah, so social media is so tricky, right? Like you see reels or TikToks and people like, oh, I wake up at 3:50 a.m. and then I ice baths and then this. And then you're like, all right, no way you actually do this every single day. I mean, maybe you do. It's like unrealistic, right? I think that's like part of the social media, like unrealistic expectations that we just set on ourselves, right?
Also, I need to say this again, what you just said. Some people wake up at 5 a.m. because that works for them. That, I swear, that doesn't work for me. There's no way. At 5 a.m., that doesn't work for me. What works for me could be some days 7, some days 8, or even 9 if I'm extremely, extremely tired and I have that opportunity. Again, time. If I have one day where I can wake up at 9, trust me, I'll do it. Because I do a lot till really late. Oh, and sometimes I also finish my day at 3 p.m. So again, it depends. You're not going to have a schedule. Even though you try to put it, you're not going to have it like strictly again.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I want to also talk about this because it doesn't have to do with the routine, but it has to do with how we see the future, how we see the world. And I like asking my guests or people I'm talking to, like, what are you most hopeful about in the next 5 years? What are you most hopeful about in society, in the world in general? And how are you building around that?
I feel this is kind of a Miss Universe question.
No pressure.
No?
Yeah, something like that. No pressure. It's just in general, what are you most hopeful about in the next 5 years? And obviously with what you're building around that. But I just kind of want to get your take on what makes you hopeful. Why are we going to build this better future ourselves?
Okay, so honestly, I really want people to follow their intuition. When I say intuition, because I learned this, by the way, like 3 days ago by reading, that intuition is a combination by your brain and your heart. You're in between. So when you follow that, I think you're going to create and get to the goals that you really want, and you're going to be happier. You're going to create a better world, not only for yourself, but also for the people around. Why? Because I think when you do something that you don't want to do, you don't put your heart, You don't put effort. You just do it because you have to do it, and that's it, right? So you're not creating anything for yourself or what you really want for yourself. And yeah, I think that we learn and we get inspired by people that go for that dream, even though people believe that it's dumb or is like risky. So I feel that maybe that's something that I'm really looking forward to see in this generation, even my generation, that just, follow what you want to do. Don't follow what people around you tells you to do. That's something that I would love to see, honestly.
I love that.
And also,
I love that.
what I believe that I'm doing is exactly that. Because I already tried, working on a 9 to 5. Even though I love it because it was about marketing and so forth, it didn't feel right. So right now, what I'm doing, even though it's super stressful, obviously, it's super, super nice to see, what I'm creating, not only for myself, but how my product and my brand is impacting people right now in Venezuela. My plan is to obviously create this in other countries. So I'm working for that. And something that I say myself.
I love that.
Not every day, but at least once a week is stay focused, work hard, and make it happen. That's something that really marked me in order to keep going with my business.
I love that. And I think the best thing of everything you're saying, because people don't always see it this way, but I love talking about how the best way you can teach something or make a change in the world is by you living that yourself and being that example. And I think with what you're building, that's the most powerful thing you can do. And you're doing that already. But making that change that you want to see, you're already living that yourself. I think that's the most powerful thing you can do. So I think that's amazing. That's inspiring. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about all of this and your experiences and inspiring everyone else via your actions and, getting it done. So I loved it. I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Estefania. I'm hopeful that everyone that heard this message got a good picture of what you're building, who you are, and why we are all trying to build this better world that we want to see. Thank you so much, Estefania. Where can people find you online?
You can look at me on Instagram.
Or your company as well. That's what I meant.
Okay. Well, Estefanía Moly, mine. And then for my company is Nut Milk, just like it sounds, Nut Milk VZLA, which is Venezuela, acortado.
In short.
Nut Milk Venezuela. And yeah, you can see about the product. If you want to see about my life as an entrepreneur, you can see it in my personal account, maybe. So yeah, no, thank you for, again, thinking about me. And I hopefully people can feel inspired, by some way, because I think it's super important to have someone at least, pushing you to do what you love and not, agarrándote or, keeping you in a place where you don't belong, that you can do more. We always can do more.
Of course. Exactly. I love that. We're going to put all those handles and information on the description below. And thank you so much, Steph. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Salo.